You understand? What do you mean, what facts? What facts? What, I had a court case and I could have gone prison? What's that? Oh, that's what you said. So I said, before you start talking shit, did I say you had a court case?
Annual British Border Control Luncheon Awards. It was nice.
Spencer Farron speaking. Big up Spencer Farron, master knowledge.
To see Conor Benn go up to Duke Mckenzie, the former freeweight world champion, and apologise for his outbursts and tantrums of last year while the two were in Dubai. Duke says, "I have no problem with you. It's all love," which Conor replied, "Yeah, I've got nothing but love."
Okay, the man himself, Spencer Farron.
Respect for you. That was really nice to see. As it takes a real man to squash something and end it with love.
Come on. And just for background on the actual issue, this is what Duke Mckenzie said.
Saying different things, that it's a shocking video and, how dare he, and one thing and another. He went on to say how much money he'd made in the sport of boxing and how
so money.
Wealthy he was in the sport of boxing.
As I say later on in this video, Duke Mckenzie's definitely a better boxer based on his belts, free weight, world championships. But let's hear more.
But that doesn't really.
But that's by the by, really. As I say, this isn't meant to stoke any tensions. It's just more to fill the gap in terms of why Conor came to apologise to Duke Mckenzie at the British Border Control Awards in the first place.
Wait, to me, obviously, because in his eyes, I'm broke, so it is what it is. But obviously, there's a far more.
This is obviously from 3 months ago, 12 weeks ago. They've sorted it out now. I think the event was last week or so where Duke Mckenzie and Conor came into contact with each other, and Conor came over to apologise. One was sitting on, I think, table 9, and the other one was sitting on table 20.
Money available in the sport of boxing today as there was when I was fighting. So had I been boxing today, then, I'd be a very, very wealthy man as a 3-time world champion. If
Indeed.
At any point, if he wanted to sit down and have a conversation, I'd be more than happy to. Even
there you go. So he was willing to have a conversation even at the time.
Now, because I'm not that guy, and I'm not who he thinks I am, or I'm not a gangster. I'm just a normal everyday guy going about my business. Saying
and he definitely that is just doing his punditry, using his experience as a world former champion. As I say, you see him there with Nigel Benn. So they've come to terms, but let's see what he said on.
So Eubanks has boxed at a higher level. He's boxed the Gale, he's boxed George Groves, he's boxed Billy Joe Saunders. All right, he's come up short, but he's had that experience.
Oh, this makes more sense now. So it's kind of like, and as I say, Conor Benn's explanation for his behaviour was that, Duke was in front of him at the time, but also I'm going to bear in mind that I think Duke definitely rated Chris Eubank higher than Conor Benn. I think that was in their first fight, which was nearly a year ago.
There isn't anybody on Conor Benn's resume that you could even suggest has been anywhere near of that sort of calibre.
That's going to hurt when you hear that type of comment. Obviously, as a fighter, you're going to want to be the supreme being, so to speak. But as I say, Conor's explanation later is that he essentially was venting on the day in December in Dubai.
For a boxer, and he knows his way around the ring. So.
Okay, so that's part of the kind of background, and they have indeed though buried the hatchet. Ben approached directly to clear the air. He said he had a lot of anger in his system, which he needed to vent, and it just happened to be me at that time. There you go.
Welcome to the channel. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That was Duke Mckenzie and Conor Benn. So the purpose of this video is to kind of start the timeline. Just to be very clear, these parties have resolved that position. I just wanted to go a bit into it and what's happened in relation to why they had that dispute. And we'll be going through that in a moment. But just to round it off, I'm not here to shed any bones of contention amongst the parties, because ultimately, and big up Spencer Farron, ultimately this video is just trying to kind of fill the gap in for anybody who was unaware of why Conor Benn had the need and quite properly went to apologise to Duke Mckenzie in the first place. So that's the purpose of this video, to kind of go through that timeline. And just to be clear, they did resolve things, but there is a background to it. Obviously, Conor at the time may have been unhappy about things. You may say as part of his role as a boxing fan, obviously, as you heard, a former free world weight champion. However, apologies did take place, which is really good. Love and respect. That's really great. So yeah, but I just wanted to make sure that I kind of round it off there. Just so you have the full picture to kind of start off. But in terms of the background to it, what's happened here is you've got this situation. You can see in this picture, you see there is Nigel Benn, who's Conor Benn's dad, and obviously there's Conor Benn there standing next to Eubank Jr. So, as you will be aware, that in boxing, rivalries don't always happen inside the ring. Sometimes they erupt between generations. That's exactly what happened when legendary heavyweight world champion Duke Mckenzie found himself in a heated confrontation, as you saw there with British contender, rising British contender at the time, Conor Benn. So what began as a criticism from a respected former champion turned into a viral altercation and eventually reconciliation that showed the importance of respect within the boxing community. To understand the feud, we need to start with the careers of both men. Duke Mckenzie turned professional in 1982. He cemented himself as one of Britain's most accomplished fighters to see there. And this was, I think, in 2015, with Duke Mckenzie here on the left, with Nigel Benn on the right. So he turned professional in 1982, built a career span of more than 15 years. By the time he was hired in 1998, his professional record stood at 46 fights, 39 wins, 7 losses, and with 20 knockouts. Eddie Hearn's essentially saying that Conor he's going to say it how he feels, and that's what he did at the time. But as I say, things have moved on since then, and he later moved up in weight and captured the WBO Bantam Championship in 1991 with decision victory over Gabby and Zilias. And just a year later, Mckenzie made history again by winning the WBO bantamweight title after beating Jesse Benavides. Okay, so at the time, I'm the boxing champion in 3 weight classes was extremely rare accomplishment for a British fighter. But throughout his career, Mckenzie also held the British flyweight title, the European flyweight title, British featherweight title, and after a time, Mckenzie transitioned into broadcasting analysis, and that's probably kind of the root of as to why Conor Benn had something to say to him at the time in December, I think December 2025, in Dubai. So he became a respected voice in the boxing commentary, working with broadcasters like BBC and ITV, and regularly sharing opinions about the sport and its fighters, those opinions would eventually spark a conversation with one of Britain's most talked about modern fighters, one Conor Benn. Now, Conor had turned professional in 2016, and he's the son of Nigel Benn, the first mentioned picture that I showed you a bit earlier on. And quickly began their reputation for aggressive and entertaining fights. Benn's style, relentless pressure combined with explosive punching, earned him the nickname The Destroyer. I think he's back to the Dark Destroyer or something, maybe. By 2025, Benn had compiled a professional record of 24 wins and 1 loss, including 14 knockouts, giving him a knockout rate of roughly 58%. His rise includes victories over Chris Algieri, Chris Van Heerden, and Sam Ravada. Now, I'm going to say this, I'm just going to be absolutely clear. In terms of careers, so far, obviously, Conor's still boxing, to be fair to him. This is no insult to him, but he's not on Duke Mckenzie's level. No way in terms of boxing at all, because he's not held any world title belts, and he's not held belts at 3 different weights like Duke Mckenzie. I have to say that because it's important to distinguish that type of point when we're looking at these types of scenarios. You see what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it is what it is. He's got a good boxing rate. Now there is some controversy in 2022, and this is something that I think they allowed him to continue. That's why they sort of come down to a mistake in relation to eggs or something along those lines. The eggs caused the tested positive with banned substance. Something been testing ahead of the planned fight with Chris Eubank Jr., which resulted in the fight being cancelled and triggered a major debate within. There we go. So you can see there's a bit of professional rival, obviously left a different generation. Benn maintained his innocence and eventually returned to competition. The incident did divide views, and that's when the controversy started. Okay, as I say, they have buried the hatchet, as George Talk Boxing was referring to here. But in relation to what happened during discussions about Benn's positive drug test, Mckenzie offered criticism of the situation and shared his perspective on the issue as part of the wider public debate in sport. Now, while Mckenzie later said his comments were strictly professional and not personal, Benn took offence. The tension finally erupted in December 2025 in the IBA World Championships in Dubai. And that's where we see the aforementioned confrontation referred to. There again. So the film's reports, we can see it in the video, Benn approached Mckenzie in the arena stands and confronted him directly. I mean, it seems to me that Mackenzie's not quite expecting it. He's kind of trying to understand what the basis of Conor's theory was, really. I mean, let's listen to it again. Conor was right to apologise because, I mean, look, Duke Mckenzie is more in his dad's generation, and in community, it seemed that we should really show elders respect. Obviously, people do disagree from time to time, but it's a bit much. But tensions are high sometimes. And we can understand why things like this happen. But let's see. So you can see Mackenzie's not even completely sure which particular thing he said. It seems, anyway, from what I'm hearing here, that Conor's so upset about 12 weeks ago in December 2025. Yeah, so I mean, look, maybe it's a misunderstanding. I mean, that's how it's sort of come across to me, and that hence probably why there's the apology. But as I say, Mckenzie said he's deeply upset about how it unfolded and felt the situation could have been handled privately, because obviously that was a public event, and it was a conversation that probably could have been had privately, but it is what it is, and it did spread across social media because it's out and about in the public eye. You see what I mean? So it is what it is. It's according to Joyce Talk Boxing. that they have buried the hatchet. Explain how the two ended up sitting on Labour Table. I got the box office year award. It's really good. They thought they're great event on table 19, and Conor Benn was on table 20. Mckenzie said Ben arrived late and even made his presentation, came quite late, obviously made a bit of an entrance. So I sit there with my brother Clinton. Clinton's also quite as I understand it. And then Ben approached him directly. He came up to me while I was sitting down and started the conversation and said sorry for the way that he acted. Ben explained the reason behind his previous behaviour. He said there was a lot of anger in the system which he needed to vent, and it just happened to be me at the time. So I think this is obviously a lot was clearly going on for Ben in December 25. That's basically what he's saying here. And yeah, I mean, I'll put it down to a misunderstanding, really. But yeah, fans were clearly shocked. Boxing fans were clearly shocked to see something like that unfold. Duke Mckenzie's not there for any controversy. He's a straight talking gentleman, boxer who's very experienced and a pundit. And he kind of just says it as it is. He's very objective as far as I'm concerned, anyway. And you know, he kind of this is around the time he was 12 weeks ago. This is kind of around the time he's just explaining what happened during the incident, saying, well, when he was fighting, he didn't have the opportunity to earn that amount of money, but he's got the belts. He's proved, Mackenzie's proven himself to be world class, 100%. Fine to it. Now, the boxing community was kind of split at the time on this. Some people defended Ben, arguing that fighters often feel strongly when their reputation is questioned, and others sided with Mckenzie, saying a younger fighter should show more respect for somebody who's achieved so much in the sport. And as I say, Duke Mckenzie, Mr. Mckenzie certainly has. And fellow pundits weighed in with some suggesting Ben should have spoken privately, with Mckenzie rather than confronted in public. And the altercation did spark a wider discussion about the relationship between fighters and pundits and analysis in boxing. I mean, commentators expect to speak honestly, and as I say, Mckenzie doesn't make his word. He's very respectful, but he doesn't make his words. He says it how it is. He says how it's not. You know, he's saying it based on like subjective experience, but also objectivity in terms of seeing a lot of fights over the years. He's been boxing. What did I say? Since 1980. 1982 or 1983, so this is a long time, a long career, and he's just kind of given his opinion on how he sees things. But yeah, indeed, fighters are definitely very protective over their relationships. But yeah, as I say, the feud didn't last forever, so we can just look at this again. Conor Benn apologises. Tony Bellew clapping and showing love for that. And yeah, that's what I mean. It's good when we see these types of things happening where, you know, everybody realizes that everybody's human. No matter how much money you've got, no matter how little money you've got, you know, basic things in life, as I say, is kind of this respect generally, and also respect for elders in sport. There's obviously clearly some type of misunderstanding. But yeah, so the feud didn't last forever. And, you know, it drew to an end. I would say that was a decent reconciliation. Obviously, both parties have moved forward. Look, Duke Mckenzie's not going to stop talking about Conor because that's his job. He's a pundit. He speaks on boxing, and he's going to give his views and opinions. Obviously, when anybody's speaking on anything, Duke always has done it from what I've seen, is that you've got to speak with respect. You've got to have a basis, obviously, for what you're saying. And as you can see, as I say earlier on, that in the actual event, he was trying to establish what Conor was even upset about. Yeah, Duke Mckenzie is also an MBE, former free division world champion, and you can see that he speaks on everything. So he's speaking on music. So yeah, it might be worth actually just catching up on some of the actual punditry. Let's see what he said about the music situation. I've been to it. So this is him reflecting on who he feels would give Usyk a challenge, so to speak. And then he's also here speaking about Simon Jordan. He's also speaking about what's been happening recently between Zuffer boxing and Matchroom. I want to come back to that actually. I made a video a couple of weeks ago actually when this whole Conor Benn thing was kicking up. And just to me, obviously everything's alleged. I don't know 100% if you're certain, but I mean Eddie Hearn's quite a smart gentleman, and I did kind of think, are we sure that he doesn't know something or have some sort of play in the contract? All allegedly, that's just an opinion. I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't seen any contract. So he's talking about the kind of drama between Dana White and Eddie Hearn. There you go, straight talking gentleman. He's saying what he's saying, whether Dana likes it or not. He's saying that Dana can't lace Eddie Hearn's boots. I mean, objectively speaking, it's true. Eddie Hearn does put fights on that stadium. From what I've seen, he's been consistent in thinking that Wardley's gonna defeat the Bar. It probably wasn't the best fight necessarily for the Bar to take. And the way to deal with it in the fight, he's talking about a battle of the jabs. Mckenzie MBE, man, I mean, he's really put in the work, boxing-wise and also punditry. As I say, he is a straight talker, man. But as it happened, as we saw, and I'm going to end it there, actually, that fight, Conor Benn won, didn't he? Conor Benn defeated, I would say, a not particularly informed Chris Eubank Jr. He seemed to be quite ill after, for whatever reason. But in the end, that's another situation. But to round it off, really, Conor Benn had a situation, a spat, so to speak, with Mckenzie. They patterned it, they sorted it out. And that's kind of the background to it, really. And it seems to come down to misunderstanding. And also on Conor Benn's part, as he explained, Duke essentially was a person there at the time to vent on. And that's it. But anyway, big up everybody for subscribing to the channel. Please make sure you continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and share the video, hype the video, the rest. And for now, you know what? I'm done talking.